Well, thank you everyone for coming here today. It's great to be here on the Gold Coast and in Queensland. We had a great dinner last night to honour John Witherow, who after Saturday night's opening game of the Suns against Essendon will be standing down as, after 10 years of hard work and an extraordinary performance setting up the Gold Coast Suns. It's pretty exciting. We're here on the start of the AFL season, just days away, starting in Melbourne, Richmond, Carlton on Easter Thursday. The Lions are travelling across to play West Coast. I think they've only got a couple of injuries, Tommy. And the Suns are the same, almost a full list, playing Essendon on Saturday night. We're excited to be launching the season. We're also thrilled to be here with club and academy representatives, men and women, as they celebrate 150 years of football in Queensland. It's a proud history of football in this state. Under Dean's Michael Collins last year and Dean's leadership, now we had 20% participation growth, extraordinary growth in women, 31% growth in women's football, and I know we're looking to have a team in the National Women's League in 2017 representing one of the clubs and representing Queensland. Excited about the season, footy's about to start, feels like it's been a long summer, and thank you all for coming.
Gil, what are some of the challenges for AFL in Queensland?
Well, the base is growing strongly, as I said, and there's extraordinary growth in women's football and in broader diverse sectors. Our challenge is continuing to connect the growth in the base with the clubs at the top, with the Brisbane Lions and the Gold Coast Suns, and clearly we're looking for both of those clubs to be pushed into the 8 sooner rather than later.
How are the Suns tracking? Are they behind or ahead of schedule?
I think they're going very well. I mean, last night reflecting on the extraordinary journey of the Suns, and as we paid tribute to John Witherow. 10 years ago they were it wasn't even a business plan, they were a scrap of paper, and with a stable board, and I think the succession from Travis Auld to Andrew Travis, stability at the management level, and now succession from John to Tony Cochran, stability at the board level. Now a national brand, an incredible stadium that's being improved even more through the Commonwealth Games, and a strong list. And now it's up for the guys on field to go and deliver, Gary and his group. And this year there's a couple of injuries, but I think they were telling me last night there's 43 or 45 available, and I'm very confident where the Suns are going generally, and I'm really confident about how they're going to go on field this year.
When do you start playing finals?
Well, they need to start playing finals sooner rather than later. The club expects that. I know the playing group expects that, and yeah, I mean, it's time, and that's not me saying that's what the players are telling me and the club are telling me.
What more can the AFL do to probably keep players here? I know that's been a problem in Queensland, keeping the talent here once they're here would lead them to southern clubs all the time.
Yeah, clubs always lose players, and I know there was a couple of players left Brisbane last year, but they've also in the last 24 months got Dane Beams, an All-Australian from Collingwood, one of probably the biggest club in the country, Alan Christensen from Geelong, Tom Bell last year from Carlton. So it flows both ways. The Gold Coast have essentially retained the vast majority of the players they want to retain. There will always be players leaving clubs. That happens at every club, and I don't think the retention challenge up here is any different to every club. You need a great culture, you need the good people in good slots, and if you do that, players will stay. And I'm not sure, having a look around me, why anyone would leave the Gold Coast or Queensland, quite frankly.
Overall, how important is it to have guys like Daz and Buddy back in the field and playing the AFL?
I think every sport in the world, the star players need to be on the park. And Gary's, I don't think it's really even questionable, been the best player in our competition for the last 5 or 6 years, and to have him not playing is a blow for all football supporters. And it's, I've got the thumbs up from Gary last night. He's ready to go, and it's going to be great to see him playing again.
And obviously the crowds at the Gold Coast Suns are something that's going to be monitored this year as they transition to their own sort of ownership unit. But in terms of this week taking on Essendon, how important is it that there is a show of support for a club that's been through a lot and obviously hasn't got the playing group that they wish that they could have?
Clearly Essendon are going to have a tough year, but they've pushed through 50,000 members. This is an old and proud club with extraordinary support, and I think there'll be a good turn up on Saturday night, and I think there will be when they go back to Melbourne the following week. I think they're playing Melbourne. So they are a tribal, passionate, loyal, strong footy club, and they'll have their moments, there's no doubt about that this year, but I feel confident that their supporters will understand how much they're needed and will be there.
Dyson Heppel spoke out last night. What were your thoughts on what he had to say?
I've only just read a few snippets this morning. I think that it's great that Dyson's honest and upfront about how he feels, and those players have been through a lot. It's been a long saga. There is a finish line at the end of this year, but supporting and getting around those players through a tough year is going to be important.
Did you think the club needed to be more accountable for what happened?
I'm not going to get into all that other than to say clearly 4 years ago the AFL Commission made some very strong decisions. They were stood down out of the finals, they were stripped of draft picks, they were fined $2 million. So at the time I think people felt that potentially they were too tough. People questioned a lot of aspects of that, but as we sit here now, I think it looks like it was a strong decision by the Commission that now looks like the right one.
Just turning to Brisbane for a moment, Gil, the club's played finals once since 2003. How much of a concern is the club's long-term tracking ability?
It concerns the long-term.
Long-term tracking, how it's going?
Well, clearly, I'd like every team after 22 home away rounds to be 11-11. That's my aspiration. So, I don't want to see clubs have long periods out of the finals. But I feel very confident where the Lions are now and where they've progressed over the last 2 years. They've had a great draft. There's a lot of talk about clearly Josh Aki, but a number of kids they picked up in last year's draft. They've picked up a couple of mature bodies out of Melbourne. And there's a stability about the club and a purpose that we haven't seen for a while, and I feel very confident that they'll be playing finals sooner rather than later.
Are we getting any closer to footy on Good Friday?
Well, we didn't play again this year because Easter was the opening round, and we're set with a few games we play. Richmond Carlton to open the season, Hawthorn Geelong on Easter Monday. So we'll have a good look at that for next year, and I think as given Easter doesn't open the round, there'll be a better look at it.
Which clubs have put their hand up to play on that?
Every club.
Is there a fear that being players will take legal action?
I don't think there's a fear. I think that there's an understanding that those players have been through an extraordinary period of uncertainty. They've had a very tough period, and that they've been through something that they shouldn't have been through, and they've got a legitimate right to talk to the club about being compensated for that. And I know that the club is up for those discussions, and I think those discussions, if they haven't started, they'll start soon and are fair and understood to be by both parties. They're going to be fair and amicable discussions.
Gil, Brisbane's TNA base, they're just no closer than they've been in 5 years. Is there anything AFL can do to help them? And how bad? I mean, they tell us that it's critical to retaining players, being competitive, all those sorts of things. Do you agree with the seriousness?
Well, it's a tough competition, Hamo. Everyone knows about that. And to compete, you need, as I said before, you need every part of the administration to be performing at the best and performing as a team, and you need the infrastructure and facilities to be right. So, as well as having clearly a talented list. So, Brisbane's TNA has been on the agenda for a while. They're very keen for it to be in the right part of Brisbane, for it to be the right facility. So we have had options on the table, but in the end the club wasn't happy with the location or wasn't happy with the deal. So we'll continue to look at all options. There's about 2 or 3 on the table now, and they keep getting refined. And we'll get there, and we'd prefer it was done 6 months ago, but we'll get there.
So you would have preferred them to take the deal at Burton, Gary?
I didn't say that. I said that there's been options on the table. One thing I do know, we can help with our own funding. We can help bring ideas to the table. We can work with clubs, but in the end, the board and the management have to own decisions for it to work. And whatever option ends up being chosen will need to be owned by the Brisbane Lions Football Club, by their administration, by their playing group, and ultimately by their board. And that is the right group of people to make in the final decision.
A couple of other questions about retention. The popular theme up here is to extend the standard draftee contract to 3 years.
Yep.
Do you support that?
I think it's worth having a look at. I haven't thought whether it's a good or a bad idea. I know that it's going to be discussed. It's been tabled by a number of clubs. There are there's swings and roundabouts in that because, I'm not sure all clubs support it. I think, and there's challenges about, whether it's all players would move to that. So it's a good discussion, and it'll be brought up with our clubs and then ultimately with the PA, I think. But you have to get consensus first before we take it forward.
Gaz, can we ask you how you think we can retain players in Queensland? Just step in on that.
I think we can start by winning games. That's probably the first thing. Look, I know that, most of the guys on the list are very happy where they are. As Gil mentioned, it's a great place to live up here. We feel we've made the necessary changes, to have success in the future, and I think that's what it's about. If any players were to look at leaving, it'll probably mean they don't see success, in the next few years anyway down the track. So
is that the main motivator as an AFL player, is having success on the field?
I think so. I mean, at the end of the day, we play to win premierships. And I think if players see that being a long way off, then there's that chance that they will move clubs. But as I said before, I feel like we've made the changes that needed to be made to give us the best chance of winning footy games and hopefully having a crack at that premiership.
Does the academy need to be expanded to grow talent in Queensland?
I think they're doing that at the moment. There's no doubt about that. I think the game's obviously got a lot of exposure over the last 5 or 6 years. The game's growing up here, and there's a lot more people playing AFL football, which is a great thing, and no doubt that's going to help strengthen our list in the future. And hopefully we can get some good homegrown talent.
There's talk about Jager O'Meara.
Yeah,
that's it.
Facing.
Yeah.
There's talk about Jager O'Meara leaving. That's a persistent rumour that's going around. Have you spoken to Jager?
Briefly. I had a chat to him about it, and I didn't put any pressure on him. I said, look, at the end of the day, he knows that he's important to us. He's obviously a talented footballer, but he's off-field stuff as well. He's stepped into our leadership group. He's an important part of our football club, and I've just said to him, at the end of the day, you've got to make what decision you feel's right. He had some concerns probably early last year, and we felt we've made some changes in that area, and hopefully that's enough to keep him.
You think he'll stay?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, Saturday definitely coming out.
I am. Foot's feeling great. I'm sure all the boys are excited about getting into round one, and hopefully we can put in a good performance.
You just touched on before, how important is it for you guys to finally reach the finals?
Yeah, look, it was a disappointing year for us last year. There's no doubt about that. We believe that we have a very good list. I think our average age now is 23, 24, so we feel like we're ready to play finals footy, and we've spoke about that through the pre-season. We've worked on a lot of areas of our game, and obviously, as you've all probably read and written, we've made some changes, to our list and also some other areas at our football club, and we feel that those changes needed to be made, and everyone's clear on the expectations and the standards going forward.
Rocky, you're on the PA, mate. What's your view on draftee contracts and also the push to shorten the free agency term, which is another thing that hurt battling clubs?
Yeah, I like the idea of going to 3-year contracts. I think you get that chance for them to grow into their role in their first 12 months, and then the kid doesn't feel any pressure to play in that first 12 months, gives them a chance to relax into their role and then learn the ropes and learn the schedule of an AFL football and what it takes to play at the elite level, and then they get 2 years to have a fair dinkum crack at it, and then if they want to shift clubs or go home after 3 years, then I think that's more than fair. I think it can be hard, especially for struggling teams, and I know we've found in the last couple of years when we struggle to win games and you develop players for 2 years, to see them walk out the door, it makes it quite tough, and it feels like you've got to go through the process all over again. So I'm sure Gaz is a little bit the same. For Queensland, I think it's important, especially when AFL footy is not the number one thing up here, and we're in that market where we're always competing to try and get to that number one sport. I think it's important that they get that 3 years up here. Free agency I haven't really thought about too much. I think the PA is looking at that and lowering that. I think everyone deserves a chance of success throughout their career, and if you can make that possible for every player in the competition, then I think it's a good thing.
How are you feeling for round one? Are you ready?
Yeah, ready to go. Obviously, I would have liked to play in that game, and I'm sure Gaz would have been the same, but that's just the way it is, and I think being in the system, this is my eighth year now, and I think my body's up to the challenges that AFL footy faces, and really looking forward to going over Perth this weekend. I think it's a really good opportunity for our group to take on West Coast over there and see where we're at, and put a good foot forward for the 2016 season.
Gary, can I just ask, compared to 12 months ago, how do you feel about where your body is at now?
Yep, body feels great. Obviously, I had the shoulder injury, which kept me out for 12 months. But I've done everything I possibly can to strengthen it up and make sure that I'm ready to go round one. I feel good. There's obviously been a lot of talk whether I can get back to the type of footy I know I can play, but I'm confident I can. I'm confident I can get out there and perform and do my bit for the team and help us win footy games.
Do you feel frustrated that the season hasn't even started and there's talks of Brownlow medal winners? Or is that just the name of the game?
Not at all. It's not something that I read into. At the end of the day, I'm focused on round one and hopefully playing 22 games this year and some finals footy after that. So, I don't read into any of that. It's about getting out there, putting a good performance in round one and getting our season off to a good start.
In fact, you're playing an Essendon team which has got a lot of new players in the side that haven't played a lot of football together. Does that make it harder for you preparing for round one?
I don't think so. I mean, they've picked up a lot of experienced players along the way, and we're not going to take Essendon lightly. They've probably picked up 7 or 8 players that have played finals footy, have played in premierships. So it's going to be a really good challenge for us, and we're hoping we can get a win.
Including Ryan Crowley, you're looking forward to perhaps being tagged by him.
I am, mate. Yeah, I don't know what their plans are going to be going into the game, but we'll be ready whatever they throw at us.